Welcome back, Richard. Good morning once again.
Yep. We remind our viewers that school is about to begin again. There's all kinds of implications. Be careful of school buses. The traffic is going to increase. And these kids are going to go back to school, and the challenges continue. It's a very strange time for education. We saw over the summer that the Department of Education was dismantled. It will probably cease to exist shortly.
Yeah.
Schools are under attack from all sorts of places. And yet, kids are going to get new uniforms, new school clothes, backpacks,
Mm.
lunchboxes, and head back to school in just a matter of a few days. Okay.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
as we prepare, we want to talk about some of these things. In previous podcasts, we talked about how schools are under attack. There's a concerted effort by elected officials and special interest groups to dismantle the public school system for some reason. There are plenty of, accusations flying about of how bad the schools are, and what the solutions might be. We should paddle kids, or we should put the Ten Commandments up, or, take kids out of public schools and give parents choice. None of those, in previous podcasts, we talked about none of those are a solution
Right.
for the problems that we face. The problem is 85% of children are educated in regular public schools, not magnet schools, not charter schools, not private schools. 85% regular public schools. And that's the issue. That's the problem that we need to solve. And the solutions we're coming up with, like vouchers, homeschooling, that works for a very tiny fraction of the 60 million school children that we have, almost 70 million school children that we have in our country. Okay.
Right.
So the solutions we've come up with serve some parents, serve some kids, but we haven't found a solution for how to manage the education of the overwhelming number of students, the 85% of students who are going to be returning to public school classrooms. Okay. But return they're going to. They are on their way back. And whether they go to a public school, a private school, a magnet school, um, they're going to encounter um, this challenge of
Mhm.
trying to learn what they're really not interested in, what they really don't want to do. They really don't want to be in school. They want to be on their screens. They want to be at home. They want to be anywhere else but a school.
Right.
And so we found this article that is about how we can better equip kids
Yeah.
who are reluctant and resistant to
Yeah.
education. How can we prepare them better for the challenge that they're about to face?
Yeah. Because again, let's face it. Let's be honest. When we were all in school, whether we were in school a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 50 years ago, whatever, whenever we were in school, nobody really wanted to learn all the things that we had to learn. I mean,
Right.
let's just be honest. We didn't want to, we didn't, we all said, I have yet to meet someone who in ninth grade, because back in the day we took algebra in ninth grade. But no, at no point did any ninth grader say, you know what, I can totally see how I'm going to use this in the future. I can totally see how learning how to, putting letters in my mathematical equations, I can totally see how this is going to benefit me for the rest of my life. Nobody said that.
Right.
But we learned it anyways because we were told that that's what we were going to do.
We were told to learn it, and we learned it.
Right.
This is what you do in ninth grade.
Right. And
Mhm.
now, for a variety of reasons, which we've talked about in previous podcasts, for a variety of reasons, that's not good enough for students. I
Mhm.
mean, just to put it very bluntly, students, if students don't want to learn something, they don't feel as though they have to learn it.
Right.
And it has created a dilemma that I think we have yet, as you said a moment ago, we have yet to figure out how to resolve. Because if a student doesn't want to do the work and chooses not to do the work,
Right. Mhm.
teachers, schools, their hands are pretty tied.
Right. Mhm.
Not tied just because they want the students to learn and they're motivated for the students to learn, but tied because between the student and the parents, um, the student is expected to make passing grades anyways, whether they do the work or not.
Right.
Expected to make passing grades. It's baffling, which makes
I
no
can
sense in my
I
mind
can
at
tell
all.
you, I could give you 100 stories, and I'm not a I mean, I'm sure teachers could do thousands of stories of students who don't do any work all semester, but they expect to have a passing grade
Yeah.
at the end of the semester. I need a passing grade because I have to graduate. I need a passing grade to get my GPA up. But you didn't do any work. You didn't turn in any assignments. Yeah, I just need a passing grade. Just give me a passing grade.
Yeah. Yeah. It is something that I don't know anyone thinking back to when I was in school. I can't think of anyone that I knew of who would
Mhm.
have I don't know if I want to say audacity, the courage to say that, right?
Right.
It makes
Right.
it blows my mind. But
Mhm.
yet, that's where we are. And so, yeah, we had this article that we found that talks about some habits, 7 habits, that we would encourage people to teach their kids in preparation for this school year. And I think some of them have to do with school, but others of them are just lifestyle choices.
Right. Yeah, they
And
have implications for much of what you do in life. Okay.
absolutely, number one is and man, my goodness, we really have to teach kids how to weed out distractions.
Hmm.
They are Kids are horrible at this.
Right. Right.
It's like you say, well, they talk about how difficult it is to do their homework, and they will acknowledge how difficult it is to do their homework because they keep getting distracted by their phone. And you
Hmm.
think, all you have to put your phone in the other room.
Right.
They will not do it. They will not weed out those sources, even the sources of distraction that they know are there. They
Mhm.
just won't do it.
Right. Yeah, because what these seven habits are about are learning how to learn. Again,
Right.
it's something we typically don't teach. We tell them what the content we want them to learn, but we don't teach them how to learn. And one of them is to get rid of distractions. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pick up my cell phone and I'm going to turn the ringer off and put it down. Took about 3 seconds.
Mm.
Okay. A 3 second distraction, what I just did, can lead to twice as many errors when you're performing a task. Okay. So think about it. A 3 second interruption. The time it took for me to turn the ringer off and put it down took about 3 seconds. You're going to make twice as many errors. Okay.
Right.
This applies to kids doing homework or classwork. When we talk about banning cell phones in schools, yeah, I agree. We should ban them because they are a distraction and far more than a 3 second distraction.
Right. And that's from a 2014 study where they talked about that. And some other studies have suggested that just having your phone on your desk decreases performance, whether you're looking at it or not. But imagine, you have your phone there and you take that 3 seconds to turn it off, and that can lead to twice as many errors. Imagine not turning the set volume off and being distracted every time there's a notification, every
Right.
time there's a little chime, a little
Mhm.
tweet from your phone, and you're just glancing over at it.
Right.
Every time you do that, you're breaking your attention, and it's going to decrease productivity, it's going to decrease efficiency,
Mhm.
and it's going to take you twice as long to get anything done.
Right. And so when your children say, "No, I need my phone for this," no, that you don't need your phone for anything.
Right.
When you are doing this effortful practice, when it really counts, when you're preparing for a test, when you're trying to memorize something, when you're trying to learn something for the first time, or you're trying to practice it, put the phone aside for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or
Right.
30 minutes. Get it out of sight because even if it's lying there, it's going to be a distraction. So
Right.
don't they don't have to have their phone there.
Right. And if they say, granted, there are some kids who do better. They do their homework and stuff better if they have some music playing or something like that. Totally get that. Not every student is that the case for, but for some students that's the case. It still doesn't mean that you have to have your phone sitting right next to you. We have these things called radios. They've been around for a very long time. Um, and there's a lot of radios now that use Bluetooth or that use other
Right.
ways where you can just project the music from your phone through an
Hmm.
external speaker. It's crazy technology. Um, but get an external speaker and you can have the little speaker sitting there and you can listen to the music with the phone in another room somewhere else, and you can listen to the music while doing your work.
Right.
It,
Same thing with
you
taking your
don't have
phone
to
to
have the
bed.
phone right there.
Right. Exactly. So it's okay, parents, just get rid of it while kids are in this effortful practice stage. Okay. Second, if your child is preparing for a test, it's you can help them do better if you explain to them that pretend that you're teaching this material to somebody.
Right.
Okay, that's what we mean by prepare as if you're teaching the material. Teaching, and you and I both learned this. I learned things when I taught them
Right.
more than when I was a student. Being
Right.
a student is very often passive. Being a teacher is active. You
Right.
have to know what you're talking about. So when kids are preparing, whether it's spelling or reading or whatever it is, tell them to pretend that they're teaching the lesson and there's going to be enhanced learning.
Right. Absolutely. One of the things that I enjoy is asking your kid to teach you how to do it.
Right.
So you,
Mhm.
whether it's a math problem, how do you solve this? Show me how to do it. So if they say, well, that's not how the teacher said to do it, teach me how the teacher shows you to do it.
Teach you. Right.
And so there, because then they have to demonstrate it, and it is a much deeper level of understanding and all that the student has to have for the material. But again, remember as we're going through this list that this is all things that we want to teach kids to
Mhm.
help them learn how to learn.
Right.
If you learn things with the impression or with the intent that I'm going to have to teach someone else this, you're
Mhm.
going to learn it at a deeper level.
Right. Yeah, you can read something 3 or 4 times and you'll absorb some of it. But if you're actually teaching it to somebody else, that you're much more actively engaged. And
Right.
that's what we're seeking. We've talked about this many times. Just say no to cramming.
Right.
I know you're going to do it. It's one of those things where we've been saying it for generations that cramming leads to rapid forgetting. I mean, the more you cram, the more you forget. Um, there's plenty of studies over the years that have shown that students who cram learn far less and forget much more quickly than students who space their practice over time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
get
Yep.
in the habit.
Yeah, there was a study done a few years ago that showed that looking at like middle school students,
Right.
students in a math class, if they did dozens of math practice and math problems over the course of a few weeks,
Mhm.
scored significantly higher, 21% percentage points higher than students who try to do all of it within, in the last day or in one setting. So,
Right.
if you spread your workout over time, it leads to deeper learning and deeper understanding. And by and large, students who learn over time score better on tests than students who try to squeeze in as much learning in a shorter amount of time as possible. So
Yeah, I was surprised at
spread it
how
out.
big a difference it was. 21 percentage point. I was surprised by that number. I didn't think the difference would be that great.
Right.
The other thing about cramming is that typically we cram for a test
Hmm.
and there's no intention to remember it
Right.
after the test.
Right.
I don't, I only need this to pass the test. And after that, I don't care what happens to it.
Right.
Well, guess what? You're going to forget it because you don't intend to remember.
Right.
Okay. You intend to remember just until you finish the test, and then you're going to hit the delete key or the purge button, and
Hmm.
lo and behold, you're not going to remember that stuff. Okay. So if
Absolutely.
you really want to learn something, you have to practice it over time. Okay.
Absolutely. I think another really important thing is number four is teaching kids how to take breaks.
Right.
Now, um, we've always voiced opposition to the idea. Like I hate the idea of students being at school for 7.5 hours and then coming home and having to work, 2 or 3 more hours doing homework. That to me is, I get where some of that comes from, but to me that is so difficult to have that
Mhm.
expectation on a student, especially elementary and middle school students. it is so much, as adults, we don't like to work for 10 hours a day, but we're going to expect, 12-year-olds to do it.
Right.
That said, there are times when you have to. I don't think that we always do a really good job of teaching kids how to organize their time. And this is related to the cramming thing also. It's like
Right.
teaching, if you give a student, 3 pages of math worksheets or, a science project to do, and you say, you have a month to get it done.
Hmm.
Students today anyway, students don't inherently know how to organize their time so that they're working on it over the course of the month. They're
Right.
going to sit down and do as much as they can at that time. Then there's going to be a period of where they don't do anything, and then they're going to sit down and do as much of it as they can the next time. They don't know how to organize their time. You have to teach kids how to break up their work so that they can take breaks. They can take a moment to sort of reset their brain a little bit, you know, not go away to play a game on their computer or on their phone or something, start watching a video or something like that, nothing like that. But teaching them how to take just a quick brain break when they're in the middle of a big assignment or a big task that they're doing, so that they can just kind of reset their attention and come back to it.
Right. And those breaks, that kind of planned break is different from a distraction.
Absolutely.
This is a planned break. You're going to step back and you're going to disengage just for a moment, but that's not going to get in the way a cell phone or a screen gets in the way.
Right.
Okay. So taking a break is different from being distracted. Okay. But you got to take breaks because you got to keep your brain fresh.
Right.
Okay. Because it's going to wear down. It gets tired. So give it a break and then come back to it.
Absolutely. Now, number five, I think this is a skill that is really important, but I know that I did not learn this in
No, I didn't either.
elementary, middle, or high school. I had to learn it in college, which made it more difficult. But learn how to take notes.
Right.
A lot of times teachers will be up talking, and students, when they go to take notes, they think that they basically have to transcribe and write everything that the teacher
Right.
says.
Mhm.
Um, and that's really difficult. But so teaching them how to figure out what's important and to understand what is an important thing. Certainly, if the teacher says something more than once, that's
Right.
probably an important thing.
Right.
If it's a word you don't know, that's probably important. But teaching them how to differentiate important things from
Mhm.
unimportant things is a great skill that kids need.
Right. And while this applies mainly to middle school and high school and college students taking good notes, even elementary school students, let's say you're in a math class and
Hmm.
the lesson is about adding fractions. Okay.
Hmm.
It's very important to know when you add fractions, you need a common denominator.
Right.
When the teacher gives you that instruction about how, that's what you write down. You don't have to write down everything, but you have to write down how to do it correctly. And that's all you need to write down. Just remember, when you add fractions, you need this.
Mhm.
And if you're writing it down, there's a better chance that you're going to remember it. Okay.
Right.
And so, even in elementary school, teaching kids how to take good notes enhances learning. It makes learning better.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, number six is working on strengthening and really learning mnemonic devices to improve your memory.
Right.
Again, it's something that we don't typically do, and that we don't necessarily encourage kids to do.
Right.
But Richard, how many times do you see a kid and I already know how to do that.
Hmm.
Show me how to do it, and they
Right.
can't.
And they can't show
Oh,
you.
I don't remember. I know you have to do something with this. I remember one time I was at my grandmother's house, and my goodness, I was an adult. I was probably in my 20s, and I had gone through college. We had gone up to calculus and statistics and all this kind of stuff, and you're doing these really complex things, and I was presented with this very simple task of there were just these 2-digit numbers, and we needed to add them up. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm trying to add like the whole number. So it was like 26 and 47, and I'm like 26 plus 47. And I'm trying to figure out what that answer is instead of going, the ones column and then adding the tens column, because I hadn't practiced simple addition like that in so long. I was making it so much more complicated than I needed to.
Mhm.
And I had to like stop and think, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this, and
Right.
kind of corrected what I was doing. But when you don't practice things, when you don't, employ them in ways that makes it fresh and meaningful, we tend to forget how to do some of these things. So, we've talked about how learning should be an active process, and that is, to help with your memory, you have to work it out. You have to practice. You have to get it, keep strengthening it over time.
Right. I used to tell my students and my children when they were going through school, there's a difference between recognition memory and production memory.
Right.
And what you said earlier about, oh yeah, I understand, I know how to do that, or I know this, or I know this material.
Mhm.
You might recognize it if you see it, but you can't produce it. You can't explain it, which means you you have recognition memory, you don't have production memory. And what we're moving to is production memory. That's why we say study like you're a teacher, study like you're going to teach this material,
Yeah.
or actually teach the material to somebody else.
Right.
Okay, that's active learning, and that's what we mean by give your memory a workout.
Absolutely. And the last number seven here is and once again, I feel like I say this all the time. This is a really important one. Kids are some almost avoidant. They are, they repel the idea of challenges.
Right.
Unless it's a video game or unless it's, something with their technology, they are often completely resistant to the idea of being challenged.
Mhm.
Part of that is the risk of failure. Part of that is the effort that it takes to do it. Part of it is motivation. But my goodness, parents, we have to teach our kids to embrace the idea of being challenged.
Mhm. Mhm.
That is how we grow. We don't grow unless we are challenged.
Right.
And we have to get kids more accustomed and more welcoming of the idea of being challenged.
That's right. So these strategies that we talk about, like testing yourself, teach it to somebody else, reorganizing your notes, restructuring your notes, all those things are ways to enhance and improve learning. And students need to be encouraged to embrace these more effortful, more active processes. You can't just sit and absorb it. That's the whole message here, is that you need to be actively engaged. You need to, and the quickest way to do that is to teach it to somebody else, to test yourself, to make sure that you can produce the knowledge, not just recognize the knowledge. Okay.
Mhm.
So, in conclusion, as we start the new school year, please keep in mind, learning is an effortful process. You know that whole thing, you can lead a horse to water, et cetera, et cetera. You can have kids do worksheets. You can have kids sit and read their books. But if they're not actively engaged, they're not going to learn anything.
Right.
Okay. Learning is hard. Learning to read is hard for most kids. It takes effort. Learning the multiplication table, learning long division. You know how many kids can't do long division?
Oh,
Because it's hard.
right.
Okay. And so these things are hard to do. Learning takes effort, and there's no replacement for that. It's hard work. Kids need to know that, and they need to do these strategies that help them do this very difficult task of learning these things.
And you have
Okay.
to do it every day, and
Right.
we have to teach kids you don't do it, the day before a test. You
Exactly.
have to do it every day. And it just reminds me of a kid that I saw yesterday or a couple of days ago, who, he can get the work done,
Hmm.
always waits until the last minute, like the last minute. Like it was due last week, but the last possible date with, a 30% reduction in the grade, that's when he gets it done.
Right. Right.
Um, and it's like, I mean, you just have to, if you work just a little bit every day, you
Mhm.
don't have to work as hard
Right. That's right.
later on.
Right.
It builds on itself and it makes things easier as you go. But kids really, they seem so resistant to it. And
Mm.
so, and I think a lot of that stuff starts at home. I think parents have to really work to focus on that and directly teach their kids some of these important processes.
Right. That's why we always encourage parents to have a homework time.
Yeah.
Don't ask your child don't ask your kids if they have homework. Set aside 30 minutes a day,
Right.
depending on the age of the child, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 50, 60 minutes. And just this is your homework time. No phones, no distractions, no TV. You don't have to do your chores. This is just focus on this one thing. And you build that habit. And that's why we encourage parents to send, it doesn't matter if you have homework. That's not that means you don't have a written assignment.
Right.
Okay. But you always have work to do. Right.
Absolutely. And
So
that's the nature of learning as an active process. You have to actively do things.
that's right. You don't absorb information, you build knowledge. It's a constructive process. And that's why we encourage the use of these strategies. Yes, it's hard. It's much harder than playing a video game. It's much harder than watching a YouTube video. But you have to put in this effort if you're going to learn how to read, if you're going to learn how to calculate. It takes effort because you're going to build knowledge. Okay.
Absolutely.
And it's easier to do it if you use these strategies. The strategies are not easy, but they're effective.
Right.
Okay. If you
Right.
want to be good at this, learn how to use these strategies. These strategies are used in all the military academies, universities. We taught these to freshmen at the University of Texas when I was there. You teach these strategies even to college students.
Yeah. Absolutely. You have to teach kids how to learn.
Teach how to learn.
And
Exactly.
then they will build those skills over time. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, good luck to everyone whose
Yeah,
kids are
with the new school
school.
year. Yeah.
Good teachers. God bless you. Do your work, and stay safe, everyone.
Yeah.
And get the good work done. And we'll be here to talk more about things as we read more articles, find more things that could be helpful for folks out there. We will be here to kind of talk about them. And we always encourage people to write in if you have questions or topics that you'd like for us to touch on. So let us know. With that said, that's it for today. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.